Witch. When Buffy tries out for cheerleading, some of her competitors are plagued by mysterious accidents.
The opening has Buffy dressed like a cheerleader, which immediately felt a little fan servicey and weird. And again, she's way too old to be a high school cheerleader.
She says she's trying out for cheerleading because she wants to do something normal and safe. And we immediately cut to a witch's cauldron brewing.
I'm not sure why Xander showed up to tryouts other than to be a super creep.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Willow is wearing normal clothes all of a sudden. She's already way nerded down from the previous episode. At one point, Cordelia comes over and criticizes one of the other girls trying out.
Who does she think she is, a Laker girl? I heard she turned them down.
And it's weird that she said that to Willow, and Willow just kind of responds normally.
It's early.
It is early, but I felt like this is something that was pretty consistent with this episode, was characters feeling not quite the way they've been established already. And we're also introduced to Amy, who says that she trains with her mom.
Oh, I know it's hokey, but she's really great.
As one of the girls is trying out, she catches on fire. And I like the way she doesn't scream, she just kind of flails her arms without moving any other part of her body.
And Buffy runs over with a blanket, and instead of putting it over her arms, she freaking knocks her down to the ground, and then starts trying to put the fire out.
Do a football team and cheerleading tryouts at the same time. As Giles is trying to come up with an explanation, he drops a little writer's room talk for us for a series continuation.
But that's the thrill of living on the Hellmouth. There's a veritable cornucopia of fiends and devils and ghouls to engage.
The whole previous episode, he was talking to Buffy about how serious she needs to be and how she needs to be focused on everything. And now he's all excited.
Buffy wants to find out more about the girl who caught on fire, which Willow automatically assumes involves computer hacking, which was not the conclusion I came to, but okay.
We see Buffy's mom unloading a bunch of tribal art for her gallery showing. Buffy mentions how Amy trains with her mom, but Buffy's mom is too distracted to really get into a conversation. And then we get a group tryout performance. Amy accidentally knocks Cordelia over, and I thought Cordelia's reaction was really funny because it held on for so long.
You saw that, right? That wasn't me. You saw that, right? Right?
Amy is afraid she's not going to live up to her mom's cheerleading reputation, and this subplot of melodrama really made me laugh. Where she's staring at the trophy case, that cracked me up.
It's a really long conversation at this trophy case, first with Amy and then with Willow. When I was in school, I always had to rush to get to my next class. So then we cut to the locker room, where we get an Evil Dead-style camera moving over to Amy, who gets threatened by Cordelia.
Neither Buffy nor Amy make the team, which distresses Amy. And then we cut back to the cauldron, where this witch drops a Cordelia doll into her Nickelodeon slime.
And we're already about halfway through the episode, and we've barely gotten any of the supernatural stuff, which I was a little disappointed by.
Agreed.
Buffy's mom finds her old yearbook and suggests to Buffy that she join the yearbook club because she had so much fun back in her day. And when Buffy says she wants to do her own thing, her mom way overreacts.
Your own thing, whatever it is, got you kicked out of school, and we had to move here to find a decent school that would take you.
She really needs to calm down.
Xander is trying to ask Buffy out, which isn't going well, and this subplot seemed to not matter and just be shoved into the episode at random points.
I agree. I thought it was a little bit annoying, to be honest. Cordelia is walking around kind of like a zombie, and Buffy notices and follows her to her driving class. And I liked the instructor's comments.
You flunked driver's ed twice already. Show me some moves or you'll be taking the bus to college.
Cordelia tries to drive, even though she can't see clearly, and for some reason there are people in the back seat. I thought that was really weird. She gets out of the car in the middle of the road and almost gets run over by a truck that just keeps going for some reason, but Buffy rescues her, and I like to think that the instructor didn't say anything because he thought this would solve some problems for him.
That truck was so far away, and it made me think of that Austin Powers moment. And later, they're trying to figure out what happened, and I liked Willow's explanation.
Why should someone want to harm Cordelia?
Maybe because they met her?
Giles immediately diagnoses witchcraft, and Buffy and Willow immediately accuse Amy. They go to look up the books on witchcraft to see who checked them out, and my first thought was, why would there be books on witchcraft in the library of a high school? Turns out Xander has been the one checking them out.
It's not what you think.
You like to look at the semi-nude engravings?
Oh, well, I guess it is what you think.
So we got confirmation on what he was doing in the library in the first episode.
Good point. At one point, Giles says,
This witch is casting horrible and disfiguring spells so that she can become a cheerleader?
and that pretty much summed up how I felt about this episode.
Giles looks up a potion to identify a witch, and the only ingredients they don't already have are Eye of Newt and hair from the test subject. Would making this potion technically make them all witches? I wonder where the cutoff is there. I mean, later Giles is freaking cooking up stuff, so...
Yeah, that was witchcraft for sure. I know witchcraft when I see it.
We see them dissecting frogs in class, and Willow takes an eye for the Eye of Newt, but a frog is not a newt.
Correct.
And I can't believe I actually did this, but I looked up Eye of Newt, and it turns out that Eye of Newt, as part of a witch's concoction, comes from Macbeth, a play by Shakespeare, who is best known for being referenced in Star Trek The Next Generation. And apparently the names of the various ingredients are actually terms used for various herbs, and Eye of Newt is actually mustard seed. In other words, this entire episode is just a bunch of shit. So anyway, Buffy takes hair from Amy's brush, and Amy's looking right at her as she does it, which I thought was really funny. So they mix the potion, and Buffy openly spills it on Amy's arm right in the middle of class, which is a bad idea in so many ways.
Isn't there acid or something in it too?
Mercury and nitric acid. You can get that in the science lab.
And right when that happens, another girl gets Agent Smithed.
They all have a debate about it, because Amy seemed surprised about the mouthless chick too, but why wouldn't she act surprised if she's trying to throw off suspicion? I thought that was kind of a dumb point for them to make.
Yeah. Then we cut to Amy's house, which has a demon right on the gate, which was cool, but, you know.
When Amy gets home to her mother seems kind of afraid of her.
And then Amy pulls out Buffy's bracelet and is acting all weird.
When Buffy wakes up, she is super peppy. With Cordelia out, she is now on the squad. And even at practice, she keeps bouncing around everywhere and ends up throwing a girl, which gets her kicked off and replaced by Amy.
It turns out a spell was cast on Buffy and will cause her death in a few hours, unless they reverse the spell.
And Giles says the only ways to do that are to either acquire the witch's spell book or cut her head off. I know which one I was hoping for.
Buffy finally figures out what the rest of us figured out quite a while ago, that Amy and her mom have switched bodies so her mom can relive her youth.
Giles finds the spell book in Amy's house.
And he takes Buffy back to school and works to reverse the spells.
And when we cut back to the high school basketball game, their entire cheer routine consists of shouting, over and over. How creative.
While they're working in the science lab, Amy's mom figures out what they're doing, and I really like how she used magic to take down Xander, but then just punched Willow in the face.
Yeah, I thought that was really funny. Accompanied, of course, by a cartoon sound effect.
It was a little silly that nobody thought that by switching Amy and her mom back, that her evil mom would be right next to them.
Yeah, I think Giles was a little too excited about having to cast a spell. Amy's mom shoots a spell at Buffy, and she reflects it using a mirror. I'm glad she knew that was going to work somehow.
I'm glad she had the angle perfect, too.
And then Amy's mother disappears in a swirl of CGI and stock lion growls.
The only thing Xander did in this whole episode that I liked was when he ran in and said, I got her, cut her head off!
I thought Willow was funny too when she busted in.
Yeah.
Where is she?
Hey, Willow, it's cool.
So Buffy talks to her mother, who says she doesn't understand her because she's a teenager. It's all a super heavy-handed, very cliche scene. We find out that Amy is now living with her dad.
Which I'm glad they wrapped up, because as a responsible adult, the first thing I thought when her mom zapped herself was who the hell was going to pay the bills now? And I'm being serious.
Okay. And then we get a reveal that Amy's mother is now inhabiting the trophy statue in the hall via a shot straight out of freaking Goosebumps.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Which, overall...
So this is the first standalone episode, not responsible for presenting the entire series premise to us, cramming in as much as possible, so it definitely felt different from the first one. I like that the series blatantly tells us that it's going in an X-Files direction, in that it's going to have Monster of the Week episodes, not necessarily related to the main series arc. The teen cheerleader drama was a lot, and for me it took way too long to get into the actual supernatural stuff. It was good, I guess, that there was some character building between Buffy and her mom, even if it was really clumsy and stilted. But the standout for me in this episode was Giles. I'm glad he actually had stuff to do and gets in on the action instead of just being the cliche guy who hangs out in a totally separate location and only pops up when they need help. On the flip side, Xander's creepiness throughout the entire episode was way too much. It just weirded me out the whole time, everything he was doing. I didn't dislike this episode, but it seemed pretty middle of the road. I gave it a C.
I gave it a C-, and the only reason I didn't give it a D+ is because of those eyes in the statue at the end. That brought it up for me to a C-. That was awesome. I liked the twist that Amy was really Amy's mother, but they didn't really do anything with it. As soon as the idea comes up, the reveal is exposed. It doesn't go anywhere else. The attempt at doing a theme of a disconnect between the parent and child and the pressures of following in a parent's footsteps mostly fell flat for me because, again, they don't do anything with it. Not to mention, it's simultaneously super underdeveloped and incredibly heavy-handed. Buffy's mom's outburst was weird and a very clumsy way to increase the tension between her and Buffy, and it felt very artificial. Buffy being incapacitated for a long stretch was weird too, although it was cool to see Giles do a bit more in this episode. But his excitement about the threats caused by the Hellmouth and in casting the spell felt out of character, even though this is only episode 3. He seemed much more serious before and much more focused on their mission. This episode focused a lot more on the characters than the supernatural stuff, and while that could be good in theory, in this case, that clumsy writing made it feel tedious to me. So hopefully these episodes will start getting better after this.